Hey garden fam, welcome back to The Sprout. Today we're talking about one of the most elegant and eye-catching plants you can grow, standard roses. You might know them as tree roses. Imagine a lollipop made of flowers, a straight bare trunk topped with a burst of blooms. They look like something from a fairy tale. They're perfect for lining a driveway, framing an entrance, or adding height to a flower bed. But here's the thing. Standard roses have a reputation for being difficult. They're not as hardy as shrub roses. They need special winter protection, and if you prune them wrong, you can ruin their shape. The good news? Standard roses are not as hard as people think. Once you understand a few key rules, especially about pruning and winter protection, they will thrive for years. In this video, I'll teach you everything you need to know. What standard roses are, how to plant them, how to stake them, how to prune them, how to feed them, how to protect them in winter, and how to keep them blooming season after season. Before we dive in, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We put out new gardening videos every week, and I don't want you to miss the next one. Also, drop a comment below. Have you ever grown a standard rose? Do you love them or find them fussy? I'd love to hear about your experience. Now, let's get into it. First, let's talk about what standard roses actually are. A standard rose is not a naturally occurring tree. It's created by grafting. A rose variety, the one that produces the flowers, is grafted onto a long, straight stem of a different, very hardy rose. The rootstock is another rose that gives the plant strong roots. So a standard rose is 3 plants in one: the roots, the trunk, and the flowering top. The most common stem stock used is an unnamed rugosa rose variety because it's extremely strong and survives a long time. Standard roses come in different heights. Miniature standards are about 2 feet tall. Patio standards are about 3 feet. Standard roses are typically 4 to 5 feet tall, and weeping standards can reach 6 feet or more. Now let's talk about why you would want a standard rose. They add instant structure and formality to a garden. Plant them on either side of a doorway for a classic look. Line a driveway or path with them for a grand entrance. Use them in containers on a patio or balcony. They bring the flowers up to eye level so you can enjoy the blooms and fragrance without bending down. Now let's start with planting. The best time to plant standard roses is spring, after the last frost, or early fall in mild climates. Choose a location with full sun. Standard roses need at least 6 hours of direct sunlight every day. They also need well-draining soil. They hate wet feet. If you have heavy clay soil, amend it with compost or sand, or plant them in raised beds or containers. Now here's the most important thing about planting a standard rose. You must stake it properly. The trunk is not strong enough to support the top by itself, especially in wind. The stake should be as tall as the trunk, reaching all the way up to the base of the head, not just halfway. Drive the stake into the ground before planting, so you don't damage the roots. Then, plant the rose, leaving the stake in place. Use soft plant ties to attach the trunk to the stake at several points. The top of the trunk should be securely tied to the stake right below where the head begins. This prevents the trunk from snapping in the wind. For weeping standards, you may also need to stake the weeping branches or use a special frame. Now let's talk about containers. Standard roses are excellent in large pots. Choose a pot at least 18 inches wide and deep. The pot must have drainage holes. Use a good quality potting mix. Because standard roses are top-heavy, a heavy pot like terracotta or glazed ceramic helps prevent tipping. In windy areas, you may need extra weight in the bottom of the pot. Now let's talk about watering. Water regularly during the first year to help the roots establish. After that, water deeply once a week during dry spells. Containers dry out faster, so check them every few days. Always water at the base of the plant, not overhead. Wet leaves can lead to fungal diseases. Now let's talk about fertilizing. Standard roses are heavy feeders. They produce a lot of blooms and need fuel. In early spring, as soon as you see new growth, apply a balanced rose fertilizer or a slow-release fertilizer. For organic options, use composted manure, bone meal, or fish emulsion. Reapply after the first flush of blooms. Stop fertilizing about 8 weeks before your first expected frost. You don't want to encourage tender new growth that will be damaged in winter. Now let's talk about pruning. This is where people get nervous, but it's simple. Prune standard roses in early spring, just as the buds begin to swell. Do not prune in fall or winter. That stimulates new growth that will be killed by cold. Here's how to prune a standard rose. First, remove any dead, damaged, or diseased wood. Cut these back to healthy tissue. Second, remove any suckers. Suckers are shoots growing from below the graft. They come from the rootstock. If you leave them, they will take over. Pull or cut them off at the root. Third, remove any branches that cross or rub against each other. Fourth, now shape the head. Prune back the top growth by about 1/2 to 2/3. Cut just above an outward-facing bud. This encourages the head to grow full and rounded, not crowded in the center. The goal is to create an open, vase-like shape that allows air and light into the center. For weeping standards, you prune differently. Remove dead wood, then thin out old canes. Do not cut back the weeping branches hard. They'll lose their weeping form. Now let's talk about winter protection. This is the biggest challenge with standard roses, especially in cold climates. The graft union, where the flowering top meets the trunk, is very vulnerable to cold. In zones 6 and colder, you must protect your standard roses in winter. Here's how. First, stop fertilizing and deadheading in late summer to let the plant harden off. Second, after a few hard frosts, remove any leaves left on the plant to prevent disease. Third, gently loosen the stake and tilt the entire plant toward the ground. This is the most reliable method. Carefully bend the trunk until the head touches the soil. Secure it with landscape pins or a heavy rock. Then cover the entire head with soil or mulch. You can also wrap it in burlap and fill it with leaves. In very cold climates, some gardeners dig a trench and lay the whole plant in it, then cover with soil. In warmer climates, zones 7 and above, you may only need to protect the graft with a mound of mulch or a styrofoam rose cone. In containers, move the pot to an unheated garage or basement for winter. Water just enough to keep the roots from drying out completely. Now let's talk about common problems. Let's go through them one by one. Problem 1, no flowers or few flowers. Not enough sun. Standard roses need at least 6 hours of direct sun. Also, too much nitrogen fertilizer gives you leaves, not flowers. Problem 2, yellow leaves. Overwatering, underwatering, or nutrient deficiency. Check the soil. Problem 3, black spot. Black spots on leaves with yellow halos, a common fungal disease. Remove affected leaves. Water at the base. Use a fungicide if severe. Problem 4, powdery mildew. White powder on leaves, caused by high humidity and poor air circulation. Prune for good airflow. Water at the base. Problem 5, aphids. Small insects on new growth and buds. Spray them off with water. Use insecticidal soap for heavy infestations. Problem 6, Japanese beetles. They eat the leaves and flowers. Hand pick them off in the morning. Use traps placed away from your roses. Problem 7, winter kill. The top dies over winter, caused by insufficient winter protection. Next winter, protect the graft more carefully. If the top dies but the trunk and roots are alive, the rootstock may send up shoots, but these won't be the same rose. You may need to replace the plant. Here's where you come in. Drop a comment below. Do you grow standard roses? Have you had trouble with winter protection? What's your method? I'd love to know. Now let's talk about deadheading. Deadheading means removing spent flowers. Cut the faded flower stem back to the first set of 5 leaflets. This encourages more blooms. For standard roses, deadhead regularly throughout the blooming season. Stop deadheading in late summer to let the plant prepare for winter. Now let's talk about varieties. Almost any rose can be grown as a standard, but some are more common. Floribunda roses make excellent standards. They produce clusters of flowers all season. Hybrid tea roses are also popular. They produce large, classic blooms on long stems. Miniature roses make small standards, perfect for containers. Weeping standards are usually made from rambler roses. Their long, flexible canes hang down like a weeping willow. When choosing a variety, look for one that is disease-resistant and repeat blooming. Check the plant tag to see what height standard it is. Let me give you a few quick answers to common questions. How long do standard roses live? With good care and winter protection, many years. But the graft is vulnerable, so they don't live as long as shrub roses. Can I plant standard roses in containers? Yes, but use a large, heavy pot to prevent tipping. Protect the container in winter. Do standard roses need different soil? No, the same well-draining soil as other roses. When should I stake a standard rose? At planting time. The stake should be as tall as the trunk. How do I know if my standard rose is dead? Scratch the bark with your fingernail. If the layer underneath is green, it's alive. If it's brown, that part is dead. Let's wrap everything up. Standard roses are elegant, architectural plants that add structure and beauty to any garden. Plant them in full sun, in well-draining soil. Stake them properly at planting time. The stake must be as tall as the trunk. Water deeply and regularly. Fertilize in spring and after the first bloom. Prune in early spring, cutting back the top growth by about half. Remove suckers and dead wood. Protect the graft in winter. In cold climates, bend the plant to the ground and cover it with soil or mulch. In containers, move pots to an unheated garage. Here's the most important thing to remember. Standard roses are not difficult, they just have one extra job: winter protection. If you live in a cold climate, you cannot skip this step. But if you protect the graft, your standard rose will reward you with years of beautiful, eye-level blooms. They're worth the extra effort. Before you go, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave me a comment. Are you going to try a standard rose? What color would you choose? I'd love to know. Also, what rose topic should I cover next? Climbing roses? Shrub roses? Rose diseases? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care of your garden and it will take care of you. See you in the next video.